Seriously. A unipolar world dominated by a very powerful United States with a nuclear arsenal to outbomb any nuclear arsenal anywhere in the world, the ability to destroy the world several times over, at the same time lecturing the world on peace, freedom and democracy, while 40 million Americans have no access to health care whatsoever, whilst the levels of poverty in the United States are deepening, while the gap between the richest and the poorest in the United States is deepening all the time, as it's destroyed and used up its own natural resources, increasingly used up the natural resources of all its neighbours, and goes further and further away, looking for oil, looking for uranium, looking for anything else. It's essentially a foreign policy, for the most part, of isolationism and self-interest. Its refusal to join the League of Nations after the First World War basically scuppered the whole idea of a universal body at that time. Its reluctance to join the UN was overcome by its hatred of the Soviet Union and the Cold War. Its refusal to join a lot of UN institutions, and more recently and more crucially, its absolute refusal to join the International Criminal Court. I met a delegation of Norwegian MPs. Very interesting people. We were talking about prison system in Norway. It's great. If you're going to go to prison in Norway. It's comfortable, you'll be cured, and you won't commit another crime. It's worth thinking about. But we also discussed the dreadful events of Breivik and his killings in Norway, when all those wonderful young people were shot by Breivik. What was the response of the Prime Minister of Norway? He said, "We will defeat this thing by democracy and human rights." What was George Bush's response to 9/11? "We will bomb the hell out of somebody. We'll go and have a war somewhere with somebody." We are locked into this relationship with the USA, which costs us money, reduces our status, and damages our own economy and our own social services and welfare state, because we don't have money left for it. That is the consequence of NATO. And so I say to you, think differently. Think of a world based on the needs of people, based on protecting human rights, based on preserving our environment, not destroying our environment, based on a sustainable economy, not an unsustainable rush to a mad free market economy that can only bring about destruction of our natural world and our ecosystem. The United States, tragically, through its power structures, has led the way in the opposite direction. I admire those that won the Civil Rights Act. I admire those that defeated the slave trade in the United States. I admire those that have stood up for trade union rights in the USA, like Eugene Debs and so many others. But think differently. The American century has definitely been bad for the world. Thank you.